Hi, everybody. I want to show you something that's called a scatterplot. You may have done scatterplots in the past. In fact, maybe, and this is a maybe in your Algebra 2 or Algebra 2 trig class, you actually did scatterplots on a calculator that looks like this. This is a tech corner, and you can follow the tech corner, but sometimes the tech corner doesn't give you as much of the story as I want. So I made a little video for this, and I'm on the home screen right now. And so the first thing you're always going to want to do when you make a scatter plot is you're going to want to enter in all the data. Okay, so I've already pre-entered in the data, so you don't have to watch me do that. If, for example, though, let's say you have some extra list of data up here, which is going to happen in this class, and picture a whole long list in L3 of data you just don't want to have on there. If you use the arrow, highlight L3 and hit clear, and then enter, that data goes away. Okay, so there's our data, and I'm going to tell you what this data is. This pertains to something that is actually kind of real. Do you believe that the faster a person can run, the farther they can long jump? Okay, I just paused for a second just so you can think about that. I'm not a track person. My guess, though, is yeah, I think so. I think a faster a person can run, the further they could probably long jump. Okay, so in this first list, what these are 40-yard dash times, how fast a person can sprint 40 yards. And in L2 is some sort of long jump distance. Okay, and so I have that all entered in. One thing you should always do when you're doing a scatter plot is make sure that in your two lists, you have an equal number of data. And I went a little bit too far. Be patient with me. Here we go. And yet that's my last data. If not, it will give you an error every time. In fact, let's say this right now. This first list is called the explanatory variable, and the second one is called the response variable. Okay, so the explanatory variable is typically the X, and the response is typically the Y. Again, does the speed a person can run affect how far they can long jump? That's the question. All right, so let's go ahead and do a scatter plot. And here's how we do that. I'm going to go second stat plot, and that gives you that list right there. You have to hit second first so you get this picture. I'm going to hit enter, and I'm going to turn the plot on. So you see how the cursor is flashing. When I press enter, all of a sudden it's now shaded. This first thing right here, this type, this is the scatter plot. Okay, so you got to make sure that that is shaded, that first picture. L1, L2, that all looks good. Okay, awesome. And so now I'm going to graph this thing. How I graph it, there are a number of ways to graph. This is something you're going to do out of habit in my class. Hit zoom. And then if you go, you can just hit the number 9 right now, but if you go down to number 9, take a look at what it says. It says zoom stat. Okay, that's a zoom feature that's very unique for our class and statistics in general. And I hit enter. And you see, hopefully you see the dots on there. They're pretty faint for my picture. And it looks like it drew a line too. Okay, now does this line have anything to do with this picture right there? It kind of looks like it. Do you remember those trend lines that we had? Okay, in Algebra 2 and Algebra 2 trig? Maybe you don't, maybe you do. But that is actually what's called a trend line. In statistics, we call that a linear regression line. Now, if you do exactly what I did, your line will probably not show up. Okay, there's more to the story. I actually did this question beforehand and forgot that I had put that line on there already. So let's go ahead and talk about that. How do you get that line to show up? So I'm going to press stat again. Okay, I'm going to go over to calc, and then you get this menu right here. Now, another name for a trend line is a linear regression line. So your eyes probably just went to number 4. It's not number 4. Statisticians like to be a little bit different. Okay, and I know number 4 looks, hey, man, that's perfect. It looks just like y equal mx plus b, except the letters are different. Okay, yeah, we use different letters in stats. It's not 4 that we use. And all you have to remember is 1. The only regression we do is linear regression. I may show you some other ones later on in the year, but right now it's linear regressions. So it's a plus bx. Remember, you have to go down to number 8. Now, also notice this, that b is the slope, and A is the y-intercept. I know, Algebra 2 trig, B was the y-intercept. Sorry, this book is very consistent with that. In fact, across all curriculums of statistics, B is the slope. Sorry, that's bad news for some of us. You're not happy, but try and get over it. So I'm going to hit enter, and that gives you this equation. Remember the X variable, or this picture. The X variable is the explanatory. The Y is the response. Frequency list, you don't need to worry about that. But now here's how to get that equation to show up. Watch this. Go down to there, press vars, V-A-R-S, go over to Y-vars, hit enter, and that's how you get Y1 to show up there. And now it's going to store the equation in Y1, which will allow you to draw the line. If I hit calculate, it gives me the equation of the line, basically. The A, again, is the y-intercept, and the B is the slope. R squared and R are things that we're going to be talking about in this chapter. Okay, so then if I hit graph again, I think it all shows up. There's your trend line that goes through the main body of points in the scatter plot. Okay, now you can ask yourself, does it look like there's a relationship between those dots with regards to how fast someone can run the 40 and how far someone can long jump. Okay, and so over to the left over here, these are faster 40 times. These are slower 40 times. This is longer long jumps on the y-axis as you go up. So it does look like there's some sort of connection, some sort of relationship between that. In fact, I was talking about in another video, the things you need to be able to talk about when you look at a scatter plot and how you decide whether that's a scatter plot that tells you some meaningful information or not. But I'll do that in another video.